This is how we celebrated Christmas, Easter, and birthdays when I was growing up in Hamburg, Germany. When did the Christmas season start? That depended on each year's calendar. The first Advent fell on the fourth Sunday before Heiligabend, Christmas Eve, 24th of December, and could be anywhere from the last week in November to the first week in December. On that fourth Sunday before Christmas, Mutti and Vati would have a pine bough wreath hanging with red ribbons from a wooden stand with a pole in the center about 12 to 15 inches high, painted in bright red lacquer. We put that on the living room table. It was our Adventskranz. We would gather around the table, sing Christmas songs, and listen to Vati reading or telling a Christmas story. My favorite one was Unser Pollinger, from a little book Es Weihnachtet sehr by Heinz Steguweit. I still have the book. The pages are now showing their age in a yellowish color. I just read this beloved story again in 2016, and again tears came to my eyes. We started with one red candle on the wreath, and each following Sunday we would light one more until we reached the fourth one on the last Sunday before Christmas. The next preparation started on the very first day of December with our Advent calendar. How our expectations grew with each opening of a door and would bring us closer and closer to the largest and most important one, marked with the number 24 and showing the crowning event, Christ born in a manger. As children, we were usually not so much aware of the dates of any given month, but that was different for December. With our Advent calendar, we would be very sure not to miss Nikolaus Day, the 6th of December. On the evening before, we would polish our shoes the very best we could, and then place one on the windowsill. And in Germany, we really have windowsills, wide enough for Klaus, Christa's, and my shoe. St. Niklaus would mysteriously fill our shoe with goodies, chocolates, marzipan, cookies, candies, nuts, and oranges. We were aware that sometimes there could be a black piece of coal for bad behavior, but that never happened to any of us. We got little notes complimenting us on good behavior, or I think Klaus received once a warning or a reprimand. Mutti and Vati loved to go to the theater. Schauspielhaus and Thalia Theater are two that I remember. Because when I was older and before we immigrated, the young men and the young women in our branch would go quite regularly to see live theater performance in those two. Mutti and Vati could not really afford the ticket prices, but those theaters had also standing room only. behind the more expensive red velvet upholstered seats, and that was affordable. They went so often they got to know the ushers, who knew very well which seats were empty. When it was dark and the curtains had opened, they would usher Mutti and Vati to those seats. That was a rather lengthy introduction to a Christmas joy that we looked forward to with special anticipation. Because Mutti and Vati left the theater, they would take us children too, to see the yearly Weihnachtsmärchen, Christmas fairy tale, during the month of December. Oh, what magic! Something I treasured dearly. I can only remember two: Die Schneekönigin, the Snow Queen, and Klaus und Peter, die beiden Weihnachtsflieger. Klaus and Peter, the two Christmas flyers. I can't.
Pilots?
Pilots, yes, that's good. I think I have not forgotten because my brother's name is Klaus and my cousin's Peter. Mutti did some very serious baking for Christmas. Pfefferkuchen, or better, we simply called them braune Kuchen. The name is misleading. It's a cookie, not cake, like gingerbread cookies. Mutti knew how to make them deliciously thin and would use different cookie cutters. Mutti had a huge tin, must have held 4 to 5 gallons, that she filled and placed onto the highest shelf in the kitchen, the safest place, at least for us children. I cannot remember that I ever even tried. It was too high. Not so for Vati. He loved them and would get his hands on a few before we officially started enjoying them. One year Mutti sealed the lid with some kind of tape, but only on one side, which did not prevent Vati from lifting the other side of the lid to get to the braune Kuchen. Mutti had to laugh. What a funny mistake. In all this time of expectations, we had not a single glimpse of the Christmas tree. That was reserved for Christmas Eve. Some days before the 24th, the living room was off limits, locked. That was possible because usually apartments consisted of a long corridor from which doors led into different rooms. Mutti and Vati would decorate the tree in secret. Finally, the long-awaited day arrived. Vati had to work, but Haus des Ostens, where Vati was employed, and all businesses closed earlier so that all employees could go home, and the city became very quiet. That was especially noticeable when it snowed. The world seemed smaller and shrouded in mysterious stillness. When the afternoon turned into evening, we were even banned from the kitchen to our bedroom. The doorbell would ring. Vati would open and talk to someone. We would hear very loud and heavy footsteps going first into the room where the Christmas tree had been decorated and then into the kitchen. Der Weihnachtsmann, the name Santa Claus was known by in our home, had come and delivered the presents and also gotten a bite to eat. The time had come. We entered die Weihnachtsstube. We planted ourselves in front of the Christmas tree that was put in one corner of the room and lit with candles, live candles, hung with glass ornaments, tinsel, and even chocolates. Our back was turned to the rest of the room because first we were expected to perform a poem, a song, a little story, whatever we had prepared. And after that, we could finally turn around. And the chairs and the sofa were covered for each child with the gifts artfully displayed. We never wrapped presents. And we had einen bunten Teller. Bunt is translated colorful. It was a colorful Christmas paper plate and filled with all kinds of sweet, wonderful goodies. Heiligabend was followed by 2 Christmas days. We played with our gifts, we visited relatives, we read in the books we got for Christmas, and just celebrated. P.S. Another fun experience was going to the Dome. It's the word for cathedral, but because this Christmas market was held around the cathedral, the word Dome got stuck. It was a colorful and noisy collection of carousels, vendors with all kinds of fun things to buy, and food. My absolute favorite was Schinkenwurst, some kind of sausage. I wished I could bite into one now. Oh, it was delicious. I never found anything that tasted that good. Jürgen's visit was another unforgettable memory, but I told about that in Oma Schreiner's story. Easter. It was made exciting because we hunted for Easter eggs. And those Easter eggs were hidden all over and in the most unusual places. Who was hiding them? Der Osterhase? I cannot remember that Mutti and Vati persuaded us to believe it was der Osterhase. I can only remember that we knew it was Vati. He must have started many hours before Easter morning, and it must have given him a special delight to find places that we would not even think of. When we were awake and ready to celebrate, we got a basket and started looking for Easter eggs. Klaus and I left the easy ones to find for Christa, while we two hunted and searched. One little by little, our basket filled up until we had no more places to look. And yet, it happened that long after Christmas, Vati found an Easter egg that he had so well hidden that we did not even detect it on Easter morning. My birthday. On the last day of November, Mutti and Vati celebrated my birthday. I laid in bed, not getting up as usual, but waiting for them to lead me with my eyes closed into the living room, sat me down, and then I would open my eyes to candlelight and my presents artfully displayed on the table. We never wrapped presents. I remember one gift, a pair of pajamas and a bright red pattern and red slippers. Oh, how I loved those presents. Later in the day, we would have a celebration with my cousins Peter and Johannes, and together with our parents and Klaus and Christa, we would eat cake and played games. Later in my life, I learned something about Mutti's baking. She would carefully figure out how many marks and pfennige the different recipes would cost, and then choose the one that she could afford. When my own children grew up, they had circles of friends in our neighborhood. That was not known where I grew up. We lived in a big apartment building, and a neighborhood feeling did not exist. If there were children living on our street, I did not know them. The end.